that sweet intro music. What's going on, everybody? This is Corner Comics, your weekly comic book reading club. My friends and I get together. We share a couple of issues with each other. We get together. We talk about those issues. I am joined by my friend Russ. How you doing this Sunday morning?
I'm doing great, planning my work and working my plan.
All right. You had mentioned, I think, last week off the stream, um, you wanted me to give a shout out and have you let people know where they can find you on the internet.
Yeah, I'm not very active, but I am at Walrus. If you want to follow my Twitter, and soon, probably within the next couple of days, blacksuperherofan.com
You're gonna
will
get that
be
going
back up
again.
and running. Yeah, it's just broken. I just need to fix it.
Okay.
So I'm going to fix it within the next 48 hours at blacksuperherofan.com will be working. And my other project, Comic Creators of Color, is working. I haven't been active on it, but I'm getting ready to go full blast at them again.
Nice. All right, I like it. So we've got 6 comics this week. If you follow me on Twitter at Burkhoff, I do post the reading list ahead of time, usually a day or two before. This week, I know, Russ, you had your issues in there like Sunday of last
Right?
week,
And
and then
yeah, and then you're like, oh, here's Friday, and we're doing this on Saturday, and read all these damn books. I'm like, really? Dude.
uh, so yeah, I try to do it ahead of time, but this week was pretty crazy. Just getting ready for the holidays with work and everything. So I'll run through the issues that we got. Issue number 1, and these will be mine too. Annihilation, Scourge, Nova. And my second book this week is Annihilation, Scourge, Omega. So both of these come from a miniseries that Marvel put out that was mainly written by Matthew Rosenberg. It's sort of a follow-up to the, I guess, 2006 Annihilation story, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Um,
I think there's always, it'll be another, and then someone will be a follow-up to this one. Annihilation will return.
right. Well, Annihilus is kind of an interesting bad guy
Yeah,
with,
yeah, I'd
with
say so.
with the way he talks and everything.
hmm
Your 2 issues. What are you bringing this week?
I bought Black Terror, Volume 2, Number 3. I chose this mainly because this is a public domain character. So anyone can make a Black Terror comic. Anyone has the right to do it. You can do one if you want. And it's been showing up in a lot of different places. I think Dynamite most recently. But this one takes the character and sort of modernize it in a sort of, I want to say Marvel kind of way. But we can discuss that later. And I also picked Peter Cannon Thunderbolt, which is another old school character, a la Doc Savage-ish kind of character, a thinking man's hero. And so because of Gunn, he's also been modernized. I brought that to the table.
And then Emmanuel is not with us this week, but he did submit 2 issues for us to talk about. He's got Powers number 6, which is the 2016 run. I wasn't aware that Brian Michael Bendis had started another run of Powers, so I had no idea what the hell was going on and sort of jumped to the middle, but we'll get to that. And then his second issue is Her Infernal Descent. I think it's a number 1. I don't know if there's more than one, or if it's a standalone. It says part 1, so I'm assuming there's more issues to that.
Yes, there are more issues,
Okay.
at least 5.
Okay. So yeah, do you want to, let's see. I need to do my transition so people can see the covers that we're talking about.
Or is it over here?
It's it'll be on the other side actually. All right.
Wherever you're seeing this.
Yeah, wherever the covers pop up. Let's see. So for the first one I have, set up in the images is Annihilation, Scourge, Nova. Um, like I said, this is written by Matthew Rosenberg, art by Ibrahim Robertson. Um, the reason that I picked this, I've been following the miniseries. I think there's 6 issues total. It is Alpha, Omega. Those are the bookends, and then in the middle you've got Nova, Fantastic Four, Beta Ray Bill, and Silver Surfer. I went with Nova and then obviously Omega for my second book. It's kind of an interesting miniseries that you don't really have to read all of the books to get a complete story, which is kind of cool. And I thought Nova and Omega were probably the most interesting books out of the run. With Nova in particular, he is this is the original Nova.
Richard Rider.
Yeah, Richard Rider. He is back from, I guess, the Cancerverse. He was locked away in the Cancerverse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this book sort of goes through his journey as part of this whole Annihilation Scourge event, which the Cancerverse is threatening the negative zone, which then affects our reality, and so the heroes from our reality get sucked into the negative zone to fight the Scourge that's breaking through the Cancerverse. What are your initial thoughts?
Okay, so for those who don't know, the Cancerverse is a parallel Marvel universe where everybody's evil and they cannot die. It's not unlike Marvel Zombies. Right? And they just wanted to convert more. And back in Annihilation something years ago, Nova got trapped there, along with some other heroes who did escape. Nova did not, at least not initially. So because I know Nova from its beginning of his run, where he was, I wish I was Spider-Man. I can fly and I'm strong. And that's kind of it. That was just sort of his thing. Maybe I could shoot a blast, right? It's all the wish fulfillment. You know, if you just, a boy wants to be a super, he wants to be fly, he wants to be strong, bulletproof, and shoot beams. That's kind of all you need. You don't really think about more. And he was that guy.
Okay.
This Nova is, well, way more powerful. And I'm not really sure with all the continuity how that even happened. But what I didn't like about the character, first of all, Nova's been through a lot. Left in another universe, lost his family, fighting his brother, evil brother,
right?
All of these other things. So he's been through stuff possibly way worse than Spider-Man. So that he has PTSD, I get.
Yeah.
But he was, to me, I felt kind of cowardice, right? He's not as heroic. More like, oh, damn, I got to sacrifice my life again. I really don't want to do this. I'm just, I had enough. And I'm not saying he didn't step out and do things, but he just wasn't he wasn't the kind of person you want to like, yeah, I can get behind this character. He wasn't that. But he's a human being going through stuff, so I get it. What was more interesting to me was Annihilus.
Yeah.
Because Annihilus is always, killing and I am your God all the way through. But here, I never seen before. And I was like, I got to protect my cowardice as people.
Right.
Right. I'm like, Annihilus was like, I thought you just let them die, just lay more eggs. Right. And I was like, no, I'm here to, whatever. And I'm like, and willing to kill a child to be quiet so that I can save my people. I'm like,
yeah,
there was so Annihilus was more interesting as a character. If we ever got to see that, because Annihilus was always the evil guy, so you don't need a lot of motivation. I want to conquer, I'm the greatest.
No, yeah, this does a little bit to kind of flesh his character out. I would suggest checking out Alpha if you're interested in that aspect of the character.
Mm-hmm. Like Annihilus at this level, trying to fight back for his universe. This is Annihilus. Like I would follow an Annihilus book, like I would follow a Dr. Doom book.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of saying, I'm arrogant, I'm all powerful, I cannot be stopped, I'm a force of will. There's some same themes here.
Right.
So again, for me in this book, Annihilus was the one. It was interesting to note that while the beings from the Cancerverse cannot die, apparently they can in the negative zone. So that was new for me.
Right.
But if you don't stop in a negative zone, then they're going to come to Earth and you can't kill them. And what are you going to do? So I liked that part of it. I found the art to be serviceable. Not, I mean, it was decent art, but not like amazing. Not like, oh my goodness, this is so. I didn't get that, but it was very serviceable, reasonable art, not scribbly. Uh, the backgrounds weren't always that great or as detailed as I would like, but
Right.
still workable. And then Century showed up, and and Nova shouldn't be. It's like, I don't know. It's like Power Man trying to beat up Superman. What are you gonna really do here? Or not Century, the Void. Uh,
Yeah, an aspect of Sentry.
yes,
We
same
can,
powers, all evil.
yeah, we can get into that aspect of the story too.
All right. So did I enjoy it? Yes. But for me, the Scene Stealer was Annihilus, because never in all my reading of any Annihilation story was Annihilus as interesting as he was here.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I will comment on the art a little bit. I liked the art more than you, definitely. I feel like it was more classic Marvel.
Okay,
It feels very classic to me, in a way that a lot of new books don't.
I can
So
see that.
that's kind of what caught my attention. Um, all right, you want to move on to the next issue then to finish out this story, Annihilation
Yeah,
Scourge Omega.
yeah. You want to say anything before I put my words in?
Yeah, I will say that if you're gonna read this in my reading order, which is just Nova and the last book, the few things that you will miss, the fact that Silver Surfer has merged with the human aspect of Sentry. I can't think of what his name is. It starts with an R too. His last name.
I want to say Bob Roberts, but who knows if that's really what I think it's Roberts.
Yeah, yeah, because Thing wants to call Silver Surfer Bob. He's like, yeah, this new entity that you two formed together, the Silver Sentry sounds cool, but I'm gonna call you Bob. So that's the one thing that you'll miss. I actually haven't read the Beta Ray Bill comic. I bought it and picked it up. I just haven't read it. He starts off without his hammer, and so he's not full Beta Ray Bill at the beginning of the story. The Fantastic Four, if you do read that, you get the story about how they've sort of built up this negative verse army that they have. So there's some allies there. Um, but I feel like you don't miss a whole lot not reading all of the books. Like I don't really miss not reading Beta Ray Bill's story. It'll be interesting to go back and see what the hell happened, but in terms of like the ending story, it doesn't seem to have too much of a bearing. Um, Obviously, Sentry is sort of in the background at the end of every issue, and then this is the culmination. Of course, it's going to be the big battle with Sentry, or the Void aspect of Sentry's character that is sort of causing the Cancerverse to rip through the dimensions. Um, yeah, that's the setup. It was a little
Okay,
long-winded.
so I've read all of them.
Okay.
Okay, it's just so I will agree with you to some extent that you don't have to read all the others. However, it's like if someone starts with a new version of an anime, but they missed the last one, there's something there to inform you. You don't have to have seen it, but
Yeah.
it's nice to know. For example, why is the Century in that universe in the first place? That's a Fantastic Four story,
Right.
right? So you want to know. And then there's some Fantastic Four history in which Johnny Storm was left in the negative zone for like a year. And he became like the leader of all their forces or whatever. And he got killed and reborn a whole bunch of times. And so people will follow him like they'll follow a nihilist
Right.
in the negative zone. And so you have that background too. And then you also would have gotten to see the Cancerverse version of the Fantastic Four had you read the Fantastic Four book.
Yeah,
Okay,
and they
so
they do look
yeah,
pretty gnarly.
yeah. And then there's some setup for the Silver Surfer, and that the Silver Surfer is no longer silver to begin with. Let's start with that. Uh, Not only is he no longer he's no longer tangible.
Yeah.
so you can't hit him. And so, but he also has this new power in that he can merge with other beings. So you'll get a little bit of that backstory, and you see he'll end up merging with uh, 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 Bob Roberts or whoever he is, the good half of the human half of the Century.
Right.
And Beta Ray Bill, it's kind of a throwaway story, but you just get to know why he's there in the first place and how he lost his hammer fighting, and he loses his hammer in that book, so it's not that
Yeah.
much longer between.
Yeah.
So, but all of that to say, now this art I didn't enjoy as much as the previous book. I don't
Okay.
feel that this art was at that level. Again, not terrible, but serviceable. Uh, I like, I always like a book where everybody's in it and everybody has something to say. It's like why I like Justice League more than I like the individual heroes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I want to see, as long as you give service to all the players. And in this, they do. Beta Ray Bill has some things to say. So Fantastic Four has some things to say individually as well, and roles to play. So all of that was done. So I have to give credit to the story and that you told this story and every player was not thrown in, except for when Nova shows up with 50 more people who never talk, except maybe Captain Marvel says something.
Right.
So what irked me, though, is when they're finally winning and the Cancerverse is pulling everyone in as if it's a black hole, then everyone's saying, oh no, I can't escape. And the next panel is like it never happened. Right? It's like, oh no, we're not gonna make it. Oh no, and I'm seeing like the Fantastic Four and all these other people just getting pulled in from this great gravity powers of the Fantastic Four. I mean, of this universe, it's pulling us in. I'm not gonna make it, and then a black screen. Right? It's like, how are you gonna have a comic book and the most important thing happens off panel?
I don't know if that was intentional or if it was like a
Right?
deadline
Everybody is
thing.
all like it happened last week, and we're just cleaning, mopping up the shit. I'm like, no, you don't put something major like that a bit in the off panel. You have somebody go supernova to save them or something like that. You don't just have a black. Why would you even write a comic book with a black screen and 3 or 4 sentences and that's it? And I'm like, man, so that kind of disappointed me because, I like where everybody ended up. And if you have some skin in the game, in the story, seems to work out well enough. The Century is the Century again, good or bad. Nova is back somehow using, because maybe Annihilation's power is that he can't always regenerate. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say he's saved by Annihilus at the very end of the
Yeah.
story.
So, and then of course we don't know, is he saved by Annihilation? They still have the Cancerverse in him. We don't know.
Right.
So, but I guess that's to be told. So the two disappointing things were the art and the whole everybody's going to die happening off screen. That being said, up until that part where Nova brings in the cavalry, everyone had a part to play. Everyone had something to say. So I felt like that story to that point was nicely done, nicely delivered.
Yeah, it's I brought up the point like when I brought on Guardians of the Galaxy. It has a very Saturday morning cartoon vibe to it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like this story has that, and it's something that's kind of always enjoyable. You don't have to think about it too much or anything like that. You're just kind of along for the ride, which is part of the reason that I chose these books because at least maybe not necessarily with your first pick, but with your second pick, it definitely makes you think more. So moving on, you want to do Black Terror?
Yes. Okay, so I set it up. Black Terror is a comic that as a comic character has been out. I think he debuted in January 1941.
Okay.
So because it wasn't used or whatever after a while, it went in public domain. And that and a lot of other characters like that went into the public domain. There's a Daredevil, which doesn't look like the Daredevil we know from Marvel, and a few other characters. And they have shown up because they're public domain. Anyone can write them. I've seen some of them show up in Savage Dragon. I've seen them show up in other people's universes because you can use them if you want to.
Right, right.
Right. So if I'm starting a comic book company, uh, maybe I use one of these guys that's already established and has a backstory that I could use. So they have what is it? I forgot who makes this particular comic.
This is
Uh,
Dynamite.
Dynamite. So Dynamite has brought them back before, these heroes,
Yeah.
and more than once, and did a sort of a mini series and bring them all back. Apparently, the reason they lost continuity is because they all got zapped into another universe where they did not age, and some of them got an upgrade in their powers. So now here they are, and so it's right after they disappeared in comics. They're back now,
Right.
right, and trying to find their way. And that's a good, you don't have to get into where they came. It just this is who they are now, and they
Right.
just appeared and they have these powers. But they fought in the wars, like a World War II type characters, most of these. So, just socking people, you know what I mean? Just knocking them out, trying to kill the Nazis, that sort of thing. That's the history. Now, if you follow this book, I chose issue number 3, but issue number 1 of this particular series sort of shows the character of Black Terror, the individual, really just trying to deal with being in the present, taking drugs and trying to deal with his anxiety and all of these other things. And that would have been the first book I would have chosen if I had not read the third book.
Okay.
So I kind of like the series, so I'm going to recommend the series. But in this story, Black Terror has a sidekick, not unlike the Human Torch and Toro, that sort of thing. Black Terror has its Robin, but this sidekick, I don't know if he went evil or something like that, but it was reborn. He has all the memories of his previous life. So he lived his whole life and then is somehow born again, even as an infant sitting in the crib, remember everything that ever happened to him.
Yeah.
Right? Every stock to buy, all that stuff. Not like a super memory, but he just knows stuff, right?
Right.
And he's sort of eager to get back into the game. So it's funny to me, is in the book here, he is sitting in the crib in his diaper, trying to break this down to people, right? And we're like, oh, isn't he precious, right? So really, the story is from his point of view. And even though he's a sidekick to Black Terror, what is his name again? I can't remember his name. Black Terror Boy? I don't remember.
Something or Timmy.
Yeah, but what's his superhero name?
That's a good question. I don't think, do they?
I don't know if maybe you don't need to know. Right, but he's Black Terror's sidekick.
Yeah,
and it seems like in some ways he's smarter than Black Terror. You know what I mean? And in some ways he's apparently, because he's been around forever. So you get to see him grow up with all the knowledge of his future. You get to see him form a friendship with the person who will become Black Terror, who is sort of a chemist and creates the formic ethers, which sniffing them gives them their powers.
Yeah. I don't mean to interrupt you, but that scene, I was just envisioning it while I was reading it, and I was like, oh my God, this is so self-aware and so campy right now.
Yeah. So, but that, if you ever read the Black Terror, this is all in continuity, right? So they go fight crime, fight Nazis, basically. And it's a Captain America and Bucky kind of thing, right? They both have some Captain America-ish type powers. And so this story is really about him trying to sort of find his way, because he knows more about, and another thing is apparently he'll never grow up, because whatever's happening to him won't let him grow up, or age. So he's stuck as a teenager, even though he's been around all these years. So he's also trying to find a way to make that happen. So it has some camp, but it's sort of a modern take, but there's blood and murder and killing. And I love that, because, you need some of that in your life. Why not? And they fight some other evil, and they just have fun doing it. This was a time in 1940s comics, they were, people were high-fiving each other and kicking Nazis in the teeth. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, let's go do this again, right? I love this, right? So it sort of has that air. But in this case, also a lot more bloody than you would find in a normal comic, a lot more murder, and a lot more ridiculous. Like the kid who could pee acid.
Yeah, that's straight out of the Tick.
Yeah, right. And but I get it. You know what I mean? A kid who could pee acid whose name is Kid Tricklin.
Yeah.
Like I don't even I don't, you don't have to say anymore, right? So there's a lot of ridiculousness in that, but it makes sense because these characters come from ridiculous time where people were naming themselves after insects and whatever to give themselves a theme. So it's not unheard of. So I enjoyed this book for that. It's sort of a throwback in a way that I like a good throwback, but also modern and murder.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your take?
Artwork. We'll start with that. I really
Okay.
liked the artwork. I thought it was clean. It was well rendered.
Hmm.
Dynamite sort of has that. Like, Dynamite does amazing covers that are not Alex Ross.
Yes,
Like,
consistently. I agree with that. I don't
yeah,
know
like
how they.
who the hell is doing these covers? Because I thought there was only one artist that could draw like that, and
Hmm.
um, but yeah, the inside too does not really disappoint. It's maybe not quite as well rendered as the cover, but it's still got that same quality to it. Um, Project Superpowers, I think, is the other book that you're thinking about that has
Yeah.
all these other characters in it, which is also
Hmm.
Dynamite.
Yep.
Um, I would recommend. I think the first issue is free on Comixology, so if anybody's interested in that, you can go to Comixology and download the first issue. Um, yeah, I loved how self-aware it was. It didn't, as much as it took itself seriously, it didn't, which was
Yeah.
um, kind of interesting. You know, you're going along and you're like, oh, this is campy and funny, and this is how they get their superpowers and whatever. And then there's a scene where there's just disembodied, bloody bodies. You know, like, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh wow, okay, this is serious. Oh no, it's funny again. And then and then it's serious, and oh no, it's funny again. Um, so that was enjoyable. Um, I am kind of curious to see what happens with these characters, and I like the fact that you can jump in at issue 3 and not have to worry about the fact that you haven't read the first two. So that was very cool. But yeah,
It,
overall, I thought it was enjoyable. How much it breaks the fourth wall, I think, was probably the most enjoyable aspect for me. And normally, I don't like that kind of stuff. Normally, I think it's so stupid when they look at the camera and they know that the characters that you're watching know that you're there. Um, but yeah, this does it in a very unique way, I think.
I agree. It felt like to me like if Burt Ward and Adam West, Batman and Robin, were taken off the map for 70 years and brought into present day where there is bloody and all that, they
Yeah,
would just it would still it felt like that. It had camp, but there's real death and real, and except for these guys are not as pure as Batman and Robin. They like to kick ass.
yeah. Well, the one scene that was kind of interesting is where he's bribing the, I don't know who it's, just some random kid, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh,
Some random druggie
yeah, he's
to get
he's bribing
information.
him with drugs, and Black Terror's like, "Oh no, what's going on?"
But it works.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
Um,
So, but I do think because I have on and off read a lot of this Dynamite runs. There's more than one of them, but I think that at one point, this sidekick guy whose name we still don't know somehow I can't remember.
I think it's Spartan Kid. As I'm just sort of scrolling through,
I think
um,
Spartan Kid is the evil kid.
is it?
Yeah.
I don't know that they ever reveal his name. Then they just call him Tim the entire issue.
Yeah. Right. So maybe that works, but um, I think ultimately, at least in one comic, he turned evil. He turned against all the other characters.
Okay.
Uh, because once you have that knowledge of your whole life ahead of you, you kind of Lex Luthor, right? You know how to
Yeah.
get money, you know how to get powers, you know how everything is going to turn out, and what does life matter because it's all going to reset again anyway.
Right.
So I could see how this guy could go evil and pretty much, beat down his mentor if he chose to. So I'm going to follow it because I've always been waiting for someone, for me, this gives me hope. Like I can create a character, but I can also sprinkle my world with characters that already exist, have a backstory legally, You know what I mean? And bring all that in together and help flesh out any world that I might create. So if someone is looking to say, I want to create a world, but I don't have all the heroes and the villains, well, here are these public domain heroes and villains that people are still using that you can use as well.
Right. Yeah. All right. Moving on. The next issue is your second issue.
Yeah, Peter Cannon Thunderbolt. Now, Peter Cannon Thunderbolt is another character that sort of, I think, came out in the 60s. Sort of, I want to say, sort of a mix between the Shadow and Doc Savage. He's just he's just a smart, wise guy who has a lot of secrets of the ages. He uses 98% of his mind power and physical power, so Captain America's strength and speed, but also thinks before he acts in a way that Doc Savage would, sort of plan and that sort of things out. So there have been many runs. I think even he was might have been in the Marvel universe or the DC universe for one run and then not anymore. Okay. Right. So it's not actually a public domain hero, but I've read, this is one of those, I said, oh, there's another Peter Cannon. I read that series.
Right.
So in this case, Peter Cannon is on this earth with a whole bunch of characters who you do not recognize and also do recognize at the same time, as they're sort of caricatures of other heroes you may know, whatever the present day Justice League / Avengers, and something is threatening all of them. And he's saying, just wait. You know what I mean? Like, I got this all sort of figured out. And he's arrogant and all that, but he's really good at his job. So before I get into more of the story what do you have to say about
it? Artwork was good. I really like the character of Peter Cannon. I don't think I've ever read anything with him in it before.
Wow.
So his character was interesting. I like that he's sort of Bruce Wayne meets who's the dude in Watchmen that's the bad guy with the Panthers.
The Panthers?
Yeah, they're like Blue Panthers. At the very end, he's got him like chilling with him, and he was like mastermind.
That smart guy. The guy who basically created the whole evil in the first place of trying to move the universe forward.
Yeah.
I forgot his name. He's actually in the new series also as an older guy.
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but that's kind of what the character of Peter Cannon here reminds me of.
I can see that.
Bruce Wayne meets that other dude from Watchmen. I like the dialogue. There's some really good scenes where, he's talking about just how this stuff works and the way that he sees it. And, we go through this whole alien invasion and these fight scenes, and then we get to the end and he's sort of analyzing everything. And, spoiler alerts, there is a second version of him from another universe. And apparently that is the baddest dude that could, that is his arch nemesis. Like, he's so powerful and so smart. The only way that he could be defeated is by another version of himself.
Yes.
So yeah, that I was like, all right, I'm into this. This is very sort of Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, Black Mirror. It's I like it.
Okay. Good. So you like the art, you like the dialogue. Well, I think the art could have been better, but what are you gonna do when you have when you're not the big two, right? You do what you can with what you have.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I like this character, I had to wonder, if you're writing comics and you have to write a character that's smarter than you, how do you write that character? Right? You write a character that's so smart, he's the smartest man on the entire planet.
Right.
You as the writer will never be that guy. And yet you write him as if you have insight into how he thinks.
Yeah.
Right. So I like those characters. I kind of always, it's a personal thing. I like good and bad. It's one of the reasons I love Dr. Doom. He's really smart, right? And he does sort of what he wants with that. And this character is that. Like, you could see this character could just go evil or just go, I don't really care about the universe. I'm just going to do what's right. And you guys just going to have to suffer because this is the best plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Captain America and Batman rolled into one. You know what I mean? But smarter actually even than Batman, right? Like I got the powers of Captain America, I got strength and speed, and
Right.
I know where to hit you exactly. Not unlike what is that other universe, the Wildstorm universe? They have a Batman-ish character in the Wildstorm. You familiar with them?
Yeah, I'm trying to
They have
think.
a Superman-ish character and a Batman-ish character. They're both gay and they both are in love with each other. But the Batman-ish character, he um he has nanites that are in him, and he analyzes everyone around him and can predict every swing and move they're going to make before they move. So he knows just where to hit and swing to take anyone down, no matter who it is. And
Yeah.
there's some arrogance that go along with that. Dude, I already know what you're going to do. I've already had this fight in my head 15 different ways. You know what I mean?
Right.
Uh, uh, so, uh, so I liked him because of that, because of the potential. But this is the first time that I've seen his intelligence sort of rise to another level in the writing of him, or the uh, he was before he was always that smart and agile, but he was never so smart that you needed another guy. You need another parallel him to beat him.
Right.
So I've read this whole series, so I won't spoil the rest of the series for you. But there are other parallel versions of him also out there
Okay. All right.
that you may run into in this run. And how do you beat an evil version of yourself?
It's a good
Right?
question.
So someone who's already planned out how to take you out anyway.
Right. Right.
Right? How do you beat that you? And I want to know that. So this made me want to read this series. Uh, this reminds me of another series, a Mark Millar series, which that means it could probably go to Netflix, called Prodigy,
It's
which I recommend. It's a
it's in
mini, I guess.
his Miller verse, right?
Yeah, it's 6 issues. In Prodigy, there's a guy who is he is like 8 years old in college, right? And he is on the soccer team, even though he's tiny, because he's calculated all the angles and everything else and how to hit people. So he's the star of his team,
Right.
right? The other kids hate him and beat up on him. Well, not kids; they're kind of college. He goes home and watches every Bruce Lee movie there ever was, memorized every move and possibility, and then goes back and commences to beat all their butts with kung fu he learned with his photographic reflexes watching himself on television. He has a mind palace. He has all of these things. And then, like, how does a person like that even stay entertained? And all that's handled. So if you like this series, I think you will like even more this series called Prodigy by Mark Millar. It's an Image comic.
Okay.
All right. So all in all, these were my picks. I think this was a good, if you're looking for something. And then when I think of who in the Marvel and DC universe really plays at this space, because the more you watch Reed Richards, the more stupid you realize he is socially. You know what I mean? And all these other smart people, when you think of who the smartest people are, say in the Marvel universe, I would say Black Panther, I would say Reed Richards, I would say Doom.
Right.
Right? You might be able to put Blue Marble into that. He's not really tried and tested yet, but you could put Blue Marble in that mix.
Well, you could put Tony Stark up
Yes,
there.
you put Tony Stark in that mix. But if you look at all of them, maybe with the exception of Black Panther, they're all really broken as all hell. Like, in order to have this smart, you really have to be a dumbass somewhere else or in a lot of other places.
Yeah. Well, all right. So the new Charles Xavier, I feel, is a very different Xavier.
Yes,
It's
and I
more
think he's
in line
evil.
with this type of.
Yes, I agree. Cold, calculating, planning things out. You think you're making your own choices, but he's already figured out what your options are and figured what you're going to choose, and he's planned all that out in advance.
Yeah.
I admire those kind of characters.
Yeah.
I won't say that they are good, maybe chaotic good at best. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Because is Doom really a villain? Is he really evil? He doesn't just go murder people for no reason. He says this is what's best in this situation, and in order for this to happen, some people got to die. Is that evil?
I mean, that's always been my argument for Magneto, and one of the reasons I like his character is he is convinced that he is on the right side of the argument,
Yes,
and there's no way
he is the hero of his story.
yeah, absolutely.
I just think Magneto is too vengeful, too willing to kill. Not like, he might protect a child or an elderly person, but everyone else, like if the mutants are fighting somebody, he's fighting somebody, and they're regular humans who are happen to be around, he's not going to protect them. Fuck them. They should have been there in the first place. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Whereas Doom would be like, nobody harms my peasants. You know what I mean? But me.
Yeah.
But anyway, uh, yeah, I'm all for a really smart person who is, and I want to see more of that in comics.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we'll move on to Emmanuel's picks. His first one is Powers number 6, the 2016 run. Brian Michael Bendis, and forget the guy's name that does the art. Very much like Tim. What's his name? The guy that designs Batman the animated series and Superman the animated series.
Hmm.
Tim something. I can't remember what the hell his name is.
Bruce Timm, you mean?
Is it Bruce Timm?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. So artwork by a guy that has a very similar style. Um, Michael Omeg. I don't know
Okay.
where to begin because I haven't read the first 5 issues.
Okay. I'll jump in and then you can
All right.
go in behind me. So if you've read any of the Powers before,
Right.
you pick up this book and you figure it's just nothing's changed the beat. It's a few things happen, but the art is almost the same. You know what I mean? The style seems to be almost the same. It's almost someone's just continuing to run,
Yeah.
even though this is a new version. Uh, also, did you know that remember PlayStation did a Powers TV series, 2 seasons?
Was it 2 seasons?
Yes.
How many episodes?
I want to say, well, I can probably find out if you give me a minute here. I'll come back to that. So on the PlayStation Network, probably their only
Right.
show, right?
Yeah,
They only,
it was the only thing that was exclusive. Yeah.
yeah. So these characters are there, and you can, if you're interested in seeing them sort of on the screen, you can. Um, what I liked about this book, and I feel like I can't really like if you never saw Powers or read anything about it, I don't feel like this is the jumping off point. I feel like you have read some Powers or the original graphic novel or something before you get, especially in issue number 6. It's just they do explain some things, but you don't really know the world. You can you choose your side of that. However, I did like in that you're not sure who the good guys and the bad guys are,
Yeah. And and Bendis is
even in the very end. So I like the fact that I didn't see that coming. I kind of felt it might happen, and then it didn't happen, and then it did happen. I was like, "Oh, you got me!" I like me some Bendis, right? I like Bendis. Uh, um, yeah, I like me some Bendis. So I'm just gonna. I don't like everything, all his choices, but damn it, he always entertains me.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Right? He may mess up the toys when you let him play with them, but dang it was fun watching him play. And so I enjoyed the book because Bendis didn't disappoint me story wise here either.
No.
I'm not a fan. I want to say one more thing. Sorry to cut you off.
Sorry.
I wasn't necessarily a fan of the art style, but I found it serviceable. However, something about the eyes, like they're extra big for no reason, like almost like you drew them on after the fact, that really irked me. But I sucked it up and I finished reading the story. Go ahead.
I guess continuing on with the art style, I have a love-hate relationship with this type of style in comics.
Mm-hmm.
Only because it's more of a style that fits with animation because you have the simpler, cleaner lines and shapes. It's easier to make those characters move frame by frame, right? But what they did do here was they added a lot of interesting detail and played with the color blocking in ways that does fit with the comic medium. So that I did like. I like how the pages are sort of broken up by these monochromatic themes, and like so the sections of the story flow and have these like color themes to them. So there's
Hmm.
like the green theme, and then like the red theme, um, and then that aspect of it. I did like the same things that you did in terms of the story. Like the dialogue was crazy. It's not because the style lends itself to like a cartoon. You don't expect the characters to talk the way that they do,
Yes.
and so that's kind of it. I don't know. It's a good juxtaposition to sort of draw you into what's going on and like who, like you said, who are the good people, who are the bad people. We don't really know. Everybody's kind of gray in this universe.
Hmm.
Um,
There's definitely something a little noir to it, and like I could see this as an animated series, a la Batman the animated series. You could do something like this in this world, sort of like Watchmen meets Batman the animated series.
yeah, or like you were saying, like with Harley Quinn. I mean, they're
Hmm.
cursing and everything else, and it's raunchy and whatever. I maybe if you threw this on, a Netflix or a service like that, and slapped an M on it, you might get away with it. And I think there'd probably be people like us that would watch it and be like, "Did you see this? This was crazy!" Like,
Yes, exactly.
um,
It just occurred to me, because I was like, this art with these eyes, I don't like. I've seen it before. I know I talked about Young Animal, the DC imprint,
yeah,
but there's a one of the books called Cave Carson Has a Cybernetic Eye. That's the name of the book. And Cave Carson is an old school whatever, but it's the same artist. So if you like the art uh, uh, and you like Young Animal, then Cave Carson Has a Cybernetic Eye is interesting in that same respect. Just
okay,
thought I'd throw that in there.
all right. In terms of what you were saying, you don't think this is a good jumping on point. As confused as I was and not really into what the hell was going on in the story, I don't feel that it's a bad place to jump on. Like if I was in the shop and somebody said, "Hey, you should pick up Powers, just start reading Powers," right? And there were no other issues that I could get except for issue 6. This might be a good one just to because it's so different on the art level, and because Bendis is in another realm in terms of his writing. Um, it's it's enough that you could pick it up and be like, okay, I can make a decision as to whether or not I want to try and find the old issues or move
Okay.
forward.
Yeah,
Um,
and it is a relatively self-contained story. Like you do get enough to enjoy this story as the one of you don't read anything else. It
yeah,
sort of gives you enough to finish it. So in that respect, I think as you just pick up a book that's interesting, that has something that's not and Brian Michael Bendis or where what are you gonna do?
yeah,
I wanted since we talked about this could be an animated series. Did you know 50 Cent has a new superhero animated series coming out?
no.
Look at you already hate it.
I
Well,
just
okay,
I just
he didn't create
remember
it.
I just remember the PlayStation 2 game he came out with like back in the
Which
day.
Blood the Sand. Everyone loves that game, man. Everyone that I've ever known that has ever played 50 Cent Blood the Sand has loved it. I've never heard hate for that game. Did you hate it?
I mean, I didn't play it. I just remember
Oh,
like, what the hell is going on here?
yeah, and it shouldn't exist. It's one of those games that shouldn't exist. But everyone that's played it loves it. It's got great reviews. People love it. You can't play it now. It's not on anything you can play now unless Xbox finds a way to bring it back. Um, but anyway, so this is not 50 Cent is not in this, at least initially. Someone else created this universe called the Trill League,
Okay.
Trill. So there's a little video for it. Someone created a comic. It's like, what if Robin was now young, black, and in the hood, and he existed right now?
Okay.
How would he act? How would he look? He would be, he would have some moves, he would be dancing and all that. So So 50 Cent is putting some money behind it to create an animated series based on this. Now there is a YouTube video. See, you already like it. See, if that look says you gotta watch it.
That's the
So
most random side tangent.
yes, remember tell me is there a place for this? If you can watch the Boondocks, if you can watch these other things, isn't there a place for this kind of thing?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a place and there's a following waiting for this. I'm like, I didn't even know I wanted this. Like, you didn't know you wanted Boondocks until they gave it to you. You'd be like, damn, I got to have more of this.
Yeah.
Right? This could be that same thing. Right? What if Robin is out there popping and doing everything else after he beats a dude down? I also want to say, in the latest episode of Harley Quinn, the one that just came out today, I think episode 4, Harley Quinn is looking for a nemesis, and all she can find is Batman's son, Robin.
Okay.
And he is a little punk ass, right? You know, it's so well done. It's so, you gotta watch it. Like, oh my goodness, you so have to watch this thing. And at the same time, there's murder and killing, right?
Right.
And they play Batman's son even younger, sort of not like 8 years old, but even younger as far as, you know, he's really is a kid. You know what I mean? So trying to make a name for himself, trying to get notoriety, all of that at the same time, you know, because I'm better than all these people. Why don't they love me as much? You know what I mean? Which is something he might do.
Okay.
Oh man, this series is really, this is something you need in your life, man. This Harley Quinn series is something you need in your life. Highly recommend. 3 stars, 5 stars.
All right. Should we move on to the last comic of the week?
Yes, let's do that. Sorry, you know me and my tangents.
No worries.
Okay, you want to do it or you want me to?
I have just a brief sort of synopsis or like what I gathered off of it, and then I'll let you dig into it. Because have you read all of these issues?
Just the one.
Just the one. Okay. So my take on it is it's an old lady that is going through Dante's Inferno, and this is sort of what the different rings of hell look like to her. And that was sort of my take on it. It's an old lady that I assume dies and then is sort of ferried to the afterlife. I'll let you do your synopsis.
Okay. Well, apparently she's not dead because the guy won't take her on the boat, the river Styx, because she's not live. People aren't supposed to go. Here's my thing. Like, I can get that this is sort of Dante's Inferno kind of thing, right? But then I also am stuck in my reality. Here's a woman mourning the loss of her family. I don't know if they left, died. We don't know any of that, right?
Right.
They don't tell us, right? And while she's sort of dealing with her loss and struggle in her house and cleaning up and not really being successful at that, she goes into the attic or in the basement. I don't know which one it is, probably the attic. And she sees a ghost, and that ghost is a famous poet. And he tells her she got to go through hell to save her family. And she just goes with him. You're like, okay, right? And I'm like, no, right? And maybe this is because, you know, no black person was anywhere around during the writing of this comic. You know, maybe that's it. You know, maybe no one would say, dude, right? I go into my attic and there's a ghost kicking rhymes, very poetic, very, very good at his game. And like, you got to go through hell. I was like, no, I don't. Right? In fact, I might pick up a broom and start swinging at him. You don't just, and then he says, go with me to hell, and you just follow him. You don't know him. Right? So, okay, all that aside, suspend disbelief. It didn't happen to me. Someone will follow.
I do have a counter to that, though.
Okay.
Because the way that it's set up, she's almost reserved to the fact that she's going to die. So I feel like when she encounters the ghost in the attic, and she's already in the mindset that like, oh, fuck, I'm going to die anyway. I might as well go on this journey. Or maybe I am already dead. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's all kinds of crazy. But I get it. Okay, she's all kinds of crazy, or in whatever she's going through, and she follows. Now, I will say this: I don't like the artwork of the individual characters, but I love the artwork of the world.
Yeah, overall it flows really
Visually,
nicely.
it's kind of amazing to me. I really enjoy it is a visual feast. I really enjoy watching this world unfold. When you look at even her messed up house and you look at all the detail in her messed up house, every dish, every cloth, every piece of paper on the floor, someone had to draw all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the
That is no
composition.
joke.
Yeah, the
Yes.
composition is good.
I like the colors. Uh, even the print on the sole of her sneakers, everything is, there is nothing missing, right? Even in the house and then out into the world, and the color, the size of the cars, and the world's changing to whatever circle of hell they're in. There's so much detail. You gotta. I can't imagine how much time this guy takes to do one panel. It's one of those things you got to be commissioned. Like I need 6 months to write all to draw all this because there's no way.
Yeah, or like here's the first however many issues and we're gonna
Hmm.
publish it in a year.
Exactly.
Just start working on it.
All right. So again, I don't like the look of the characters and their sort of their faces, uh, but everything about the world they're in is compelling to me. The colors change as they go into the world. It's subtle, and unless you're looking for it, you may not notice it. But they go through a different circle, and now there's a blue hue, and now there's a black hue, and now there's, you know what I mean? There's oranges. There's all these different things. But Jimi Hendrix showing up, and he goes, "There must be some kind of way out of here." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
that's what I need." I'm like, "Okay." And so, uh, even I was mad. Now that I'm on the journey, though, and they did that Jimi Hendrix line on me, I'm like, "Okay, I'll follow you." So, did I enjoy the book? Yes. Do I find it that I need to read all of them? The dude that was rhyming was just starting to get really on my nerves. Whoever wrote the rhyming is skillful because some rhymes look like they're forced. He just was telling the rhyming dude was telling his story just like it was conversation and it was still rhyming. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's some good writing right there. So a lot of effort into the writing, a lot of effort into the art. Uh, uh, so all in all, I feel like it's a quality book.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we've mentioned the name or the publisher or any of that, so I'll get that out.
Okay.
Her Infernal Descent is the name of the book. Aftershock Comics is the publisher. Lonnie Nadler and Zach Thompson are the writers and co-creators, and Kyle Charles is the artist who is also a co-creator. So it's a team of three people. It looks like. So I came up with this. Yeah, I mean, my final thoughts. It's kind of whimsical. Are you familiar with Miyazaki?
Yes, I am.
It has that kind of quality to it, which I
I can
like.
see that. Yeah.
Um, I don't know if I can get through multiple issues of this book though. That's the only thing. It's very dense. Even though it's a standard, what, 20 pages or whatever, 28
Hmm.
pages, something like that. Um, it's so layered and so dense with the artwork and the dialogue and stuff that it took a lot out of me. This being the last book that I read out of all 6 issues this week,
Hmm.
I was like, oh man, I'm exhausted at the end of this.
I agree. I think this is best consumed as a graphic novel, as a gift. You give it to someone, they read until they don't feel like reading anymore, they put it down.
Yeah,
And then you come back on the coffee table and then you continue on. You don't go out and get individual books because in and of themselves, I don't know if it's compelling enough to make you keep buying the next book. But if you have the graphic novel there, you'll go back and you'll finish it. And I think it is if it continues along this path, the effort is there to give you quality work, writing and all that, writing visually, but you got to have the whole thing, right? Because yeah, I was like, I was gonna look at the next book, and I was like, I don't know if I'm really gonna, you know.
Yeah. Well, you and I are both fans of Sanderson, Brandon Sanderson. He
Yes.
always talks about promises
Hmm.
that the writer makes to the reader. I'm conflicted on what promises are actually being made here. Like, does she find her family? Are we comfortable with her just passing along into the afterlife after this journey, or that that aspect of it would compel me to finish this story arc? But yeah, beyond that, I don't know that I could get through five or
It
six
kind of
issues.
made me think of, remember that movie with What Dreams May Come? You remember that
Yeah,
movie?
yeah, with Robin Williams.
Yes. It kind of made me think of that in a way. By the way, Powers has 2 seasons. I don't know where
Okay.
you're going to find it for the PlayStation Network. Each season is 10 episodes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Uh, and it was quality visually, but I don't know if it was as good, as well written as you might have liked. Uh, but if you're looking for something different, and I do like a good obscure, you know, series in the genre that I like, so
Yeah.
I will find these episodes and I will watch them all.
All right. So on that note, we have crossed an hour. We've finished talking about all the books that we had lined up this week. Russ, do you have any final thoughts?
No, just I okay. Final thoughts is someone has written a comic that was made for you to read, and it's your job to go and find it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like, and part of the reason I wanted to do this podcast is I feel like comics are finally hitting us another stride. You know,
Yeah.
there's periods where they go into lulls and it's not fun to read comics. This is, I think, we're hitting an era where there's a lot of good artists, there's a lot of good writers. We're not seeing focus on, there's been periods of time like in the early 90s it was just the artists, right? And
Yeah.
it wasn't necessarily as much substance to the writing as we would like. I think now we're finally getting back to like the golden age in the 60s of there's an amalgamation of great artists, great writers, and like you said, there's a book for everybody's tastes.
Yeah. And there's something nowadays, you write a book that could be a series on TV or in the movies.
Right,
So there's something for the writers that may not have been available to them before. Even if you just did a run on the Avengers, that could show up in the cinematic universe.
right.
You know what I mean? So now people are writing, and I think Mark Millar is good at this. I feel like everything he writes, he's trying to make into a series. I
Yeah.
think everything he does, Hitman, was the Hit Girl, all of that, everything. Like there should be a Hit Girl series. Wouldn't you watch that? Yes, I would. So there should, anyway. I think there's something in it for the writers. Writers can be rock stars now.
Yeah.
Brian Michael Bendis, I feel, is a rock star. Do I like everything he does? No. But Mark Millar, I feel, is a rock star.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other people out there that really are, uh, they're not phoning it in by any means.
All right. And on that note, we are out.